What is up, guys, and welcome to another episode of the Nexus podcast. Hope everyone is doing well. Today we have a special guest with us. Today we have our good friend Zach from UKTC. We're going to talk about some new competitive play that's coming to the UK this month, actually, because it will be coming out tomorrow, the podcast. So very exciting times. But first, we'll do our normal hellos. How are you doing, Krish? Very close up on your face today.
I'll I'm good. I had a little bit of a is that better?
Yeah.
A little bit of a midweek. We all did yesterday when we thought the case tournament we were really excited for this weekend was cancelled, but it wasn't. So feeling good, feeling excited. Can't wait to go 0-7 at a 6-man tournament. So
we're coming for you.
Oh.
What about you, Ollie? You excited for the weekend?
Hell yeah, looking forward to meeting up with all the boys and playing some cards. Not a clue what deck I'm playing right now. I'm more focused on trying to survive the sweltering heat, but
yeah,
looking forward to just catching up with everyone, to be honest.
Yeah, too many decks, too little time.
Facts.
How's the heat treating you, Zach? How you been doing?
I'm all right. I'm actually in a windowless office, but as a result, it's quite cool.
Yeah,
we've got a bit too much AC and a bit too little sunlight, but it's been quite nice the last few days.
Probably a good thing, to be honest. But yeah, so we're pretty much just going to do like a little interview with Zach, talk about what's coming. Essentially, we got the GT series of events where we're doing cash prizing, kind of mirroring what they're doing in the US. So yeah, big walls. There's the thumbnails. So yeah, really exciting, and just great to have a sort of competitive series of events coming. So let's just get into it. So Zach, your company UKTC, UK Tournament Circuit, United Kingdom Tournament Circuit. What was the reason you started the company to do like organized play? Because obviously you don't just do cards. This is a new part of the venture. But do you want to tell us a little bit of history about why it started?
Yeah, of course. So the UKTC is what I call it. I don't think I've ever heard anyone call it the full United Kingdom Tournament Circuit before. but
It's a Nexus value add.
Yeah, exactly. Let's go long-winded. But yeah, we've been around for a while. We set up in 2016, so we're coming up on a little over 8 years. And we were set up primarily to run large-scale miniature game tournaments in the UK. There seemed to have been quite a proliferation of large-scale miniature events in the United States, but that hadn't been mirrored in the UK or in Europe. At the time, obviously, Magic's competitive scene was, thriving. There were the massive GPs going on all the time. So we weren't really focused on card games at all because that was quite a well catered for market. And as keen gamers, I say we because it was a club endeavor initially, we all wanted to attend these events that didn't exist. So that's kind of how we got set up. It was by virtue of basically being a bit jealous of the Americans and wanting to have something of the caliber that we wanted to attend basically in the UK. So I can shout a bit louder if you want, if I'm too quiet.
No, it's all good. I'm just adjusting.
So that's sort of why we were set up. It was a group of us in central London that wanted to go to a big event that didn't exist. We got going primarily with miniatures, but obviously anyone that's been around sort of geek hobbies for a long time realizes loads of crossover. So my background was in Pokemon, Magic, Warhammer, basically. Somebody else's background might have been in Warhammer, D&D, and Magic. So it's like 25 to 60% crossover in pretty much all geek hobbies.
Yeah. So when did you get into gaming and like what sort of reason did you get into it? Like how did you fall into this world?
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, maybe it's different nowadays with the younger generations. I always forget that I'm not of the young generation anymore. But a guy gave me an orc at school, Is basically the way I got into gaming.
Nice.
I was in an after school club. I think I was in year 4, so it would have been about 9 or something. And a kid in year 5 had an Orc from Games Workshop, and he gave it to me. And I thought, this is cool. Where do I get more? And at the time, Virgin Megastore, back when they used to still be sort of all done up in metal decor and look like a spaceship inside, playing heavy metal.
Back in the day, yeah.
Was the place to go buy Warhammer, and I imagine they probably sold Magic as well. But this was peak Pokemon craze as well. You know, like Blue and Red had just come out in English. I think the very first English set was out. Like most people,
so we're talking like 99, basically.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Would have been
Y2K era.
Yeah, just before, maybe even 98, but something like that. So I got into Pokemon Magic and Warhammer all pretty much at the same time. Probably binned what's now 20 grand's worth of Pokemon cards, like most.
Yeah, everyone did. Everyone.
Yeah.
You don't want to know the Magic cards that my mum got rid of. It's insane. Like, you know, you see those videos where people are opening a box and it's like, yeah, there could be a £700,000 card in here. Like, I had cards from that sort of era, and it just hurts so much. It's like,
I fortunately got into Magic in 7th, which I think was like the first set where they stopped being worth good money.
Yeah.
Because I've still got them all. But anyway, so that's sort of how it all got started. And then went from there. So yeah, played a lot of Magic and Pokemon, dropped Pokemon for a bit, kept up Magic for a little longer, then dropped that, then dropped Warhammer, then picked Warhammer back up, then picked Magic back up. And now I'm got back into TCGs. I think arguably going into a new golden era. We've got so many awesome TCGs with such like big player bases now. I think it's pretty much like, you know, we're on an upwards trajectory. I don't think the game, you know, TCGs have ever been this hot.
No, I mean, I agree with you. What do you agree with that, Chris? Like, I mean, you've been in and around TCGs a lot. So.
It's a problem. I've been in TCGs for actually it's probably about 10 years now, which is weird. And yeah, I think back when I started, you had the big three, though obviously Pokemon was way bigger than all the others. And then you had like a couple others. Cardfight Vanguard had just come out. You had a couple of those other Bushy Road games. That was kind of it. Like, there wasn't really that much. And now you look out and there's genuinely like 20 plus like games you could viably sink far too much money into.
100%, yeah.
With more releasing every few months. So
yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, Ollie, what do you think about the volume of games that is coming out? It's hard to keep up, isn't it? And
it really is. It feels like every other month there's a new card game coming out, and I'm like hearing people from communities that I'm in from card games going like, oh, I'm going to try this out. And I'm like, no, just stick with the card games I'm playing so that I can still see you guys.
They're breaking up like friendship groups all over the country with this stuff. Even between like Masters and Fusion World with Dragon Ball, I'm seeing divides happening. It's really funny. But no, I mean, to be honest, that's one thing that's great about Star Wars. It feels like it's a diamond in the rough, you know, a needle in the haystack at the moment, where all these games are coming out. This one just feels like it's got the most gas. I don't know about what you guys think, but yeah, I'm really enjoying Star Wars at the moment. But yeah, so Chris, you got any questions for Zach?
Yeah, well, I guess we'll start with a nice light one. What are your aspirations for the whole UK TCGT series? Well, specifically, obviously with Star Wars Unlimited. What are you hoping for this to be?
Well, thank you so much for calling it UKTC rather than
I'm literally going to call it that, like
every time
in the player meetings and stuff. Like.
Yeah, it's tongue twisters for starters. But so, what are my aspirations? So basically, like what we've done with Warhammer is kind of, we went from that one big event that I was talking about setting up at the beginning, and we scaled nationally. So each month we basically run a massive tournament somewhere around the country. What we would love to do is for other games that have the demand and the communities that are being underserved, supply that. And one thing we noticed, this is how Josh and I got talking about Star Wars, was people were desperate to find out what was good. Josh had a really key statement to me. He said, no one knows what's good because there's no big events. And that means it's like, you could be dominating your local meta, but unless you go play some other local meta, you never know. And I think after the Twickenham event, where everyone was like, "Oh, Boba Fett's really good," and then it went, the card price went up by like 20 times or something. My aspirations are is basically to satisfy that gap, and that may mean an event every month in a different part of the country. It may mean an event every weekend in a different part of the country. It may mean one event a year. You don't really know at the moment because the game's so new. So my sort of planning for this sort of thing goes short term, medium term, long term. So short term plans are, let's do something awesome and see if it resonates with the community. Medium term, let's see how we can replicate that and to what degree there is demand for what we want to do. And then long term is, how do we tailor what we want to do in order to meet wherever else the demand falls? Because ultimately, we've been talking about the proliferation of card games. Lots of them are around, and some of them go up and some of them go down. And I'm sure we can all name a card game that we used to love, no one plays anymore. And if Star Wars continues its current momentum, it's going to be around for a long time. It's going to be really popular. So I think my aspirations may even be outstripped if it continues on its current trajectory. So at the moment, it's relatively modest. We want to run a really good event. We want to make sure that people understand what my brand stands for, which is an absolutely top tier quality experience for players. Everyone can know what they're going to expect when they come to one of our events in terms of things running on time. It sounds silly, but welfare standards being up to scratch, toilets all clean, everything working, all that sort of thing. And obviously fair treatment of players, having our top tier judge team that can absolutely handle everything and make sure that people never get hard done by.
That's really great to hear. And I think just as an explanatory little note for the people listening, how big are you sort of imagining these being? Because I think by implication we can tell you're used to running large events, but how large are you sort of hoping these could be?
Yeah, so Josh kind of mentioned it earlier that we're replicating the 1K tournaments in America. We're not really replicating them because ours actually are not 1Ks. This is a 1+K. So the one we've currently got launched has capacity for up to 512 players. That means that should that many people buy tickets, we can seat everyone. We have the ability to build a team that will be able to judge that level of event in that venue. And the pricing we have is scaling, but it's got a minimum floor. So the minimum floor is £1,000 in terms of cash, in addition to the 3 boosters everyone gets for playing. And that's split amongst the top 16, I believe it is. And then if we go over the 128 mark, that then doubles to 2K, and the pricing gets split amongst, I think, the top 32 in that case. So the winner does get more money overall, but also people who come 30 seconds still get a reasonable amount back. And this model can, in effect, scale infinitely. The biggest venue in the country can hold 100,000 people. Now, we're never going to get 100,000 people playing Star Wars.
That would be so crazy.
Yeah, but our bread and butter in terms of the events we run around the country tend to be in the 500 player mark. For example, we just ran an event in Sheffield a couple of weeks ago. We had 400 people playing about 9 different tabletop games, Star Wars, Warhammer, a bit of everything. And
that's a lot of space required, I imagine, for that many tabletop gamers.
Yeah.
I mean, us card gamers only need about 50 centimeters squared each or something. Yeah.
We've played in some pretty cramped rooms before.
It's true.
Yeah.
I've had tournaments in classrooms before.
Yeah.
So I think that's really a key point that you guys, you all mentioned that as if it's a funny story, but what we're trying to do is make sure those funny stories are things of the past, right? Premier events should be in premier venues, and anyone that's familiar with the venue we've got lined up for the Star Wars, if they've studied at the DMU or if they've ever been to Leicester before, it's one of the best venues in the whole of Leicester, and Leicester's a major city in the UK. So people won't need to be in the basement of a shopping mall from the 80s with no toilet.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So we're gonna be really focusing on that. I would personally think the intangibles around the tournament are the most important thing. Is it on time? Are you treated fairly? Do you know where to go when you arrive? Is it a good temperature? The toilet's clean? Does it smell nice? Gamers have a stigma around them, but as gaming has become less and less of a niche and more mainstream, and part of the growth of the games we play is part of that. So the standards of event has to come with it, and that's
absolutely.
really one of our key things we're focusing on.
Yeah, no, I mean they're great fundamentals to have, to be honest, and I think think players will appreciate that kind of level of professionalism coming to the tournament scene.
It's definitely an honourable cause. I mean, I know you mentioned it, but I'm sure we've all had complaints about certain events that we've been to.
Yeah, of course.
I've had a swimming pool before, like a drained swimming pool. It's believe me, I am very excited to attend your events.
No, that's great. So yeah, Chris, have you got any more questions for Zach?
Yeah. We'll continue with this not at all scripted line.
Not at all. Nothing.
No.
No.
So
not like
of
being
course,
prepared.
I think you already sort of expanded on it there, but you talked about like the 1K structure. Is that the only prize support structure you imagine this is going to take, or do you think there's other prizing levels or different prize pools or different prize structures that you might see happening at these tournaments? Are you going to try a bunch of them out, or are you happy that this is the main one you're going to go for?
Yeah, maybe like a finals or something.
Yeah, exactly. So it's all about like how big they get and how popular they are. So we are very much open to experimenting with a bunch of different stuff. And because we've already got this infrastructure built of venues all around the country that we know and work with, we're able to leverage that in order to create events that might otherwise not be financially viable. And that really allows us to do stuff like finals events, invitational events, all that sort of thing. We haven't got currently anything planned because I think we are in a bit of a state of flux. FFG have just announced, but there have not been any events of their official OP yet. So we need to see how that goes because it could go amazing and we may not be needed, or it could go terribly and actually everyone wants to do the cash events instead. Or it could be that people just resonate more with £500 worth of stock than they resonate with £500 in their pocket. You never know what people.
I mean, they may even sit hand in hand pretty well. Like having different fields of competition is never hurt. I don't think if the demand's there, of course.
Yeah, exactly, and I think that's really where we need to lean into feedback. So that's really number one. Is like this concept of feedback as being a gift. Like you played in a swimming pool, okay? That's a good bit of feedback for me. Never organise an event.
Don't do that. That's free piece of advice from me. The smell does not disappear with the water.
So, but yeah, that's it. It's gathering feedback, understanding where these pain points are for people, and for some people it will be directly related to pricing. So, for example, we know that there are issues with getting price support from international manufacturing companies to the UK. I know that, so I'm going to be really hot on pressuring and chasing up on our suppliers when we need to get stuff in the country to make sure that it's all here on time. And, there are some events we go to where stuff isn't here on time, but it won't be all of mine because I've got loads of booster boxes under my desk that just arrived today.
There you go. So we're already stocked and ready.
Yeah, exactly. So the point is identifying where the pain points have been for previous people and previous events, and then proactively solving those in advance. So.
Oh yeah, I mean, believe me, the amount of feedback I've already given Zach about my past experiences and issues I've faced, it's endless. I feel like sometimes I'm just ranting on about it. But yeah, I mean,
it is quite funny. Josh's messages to me are long rants, but I'm like everything he writes goes straight from the chat we have to my to-do list.
So it's not completely useless at least, but yeah, generally it's yeah. I mean, your ethos of wanting to do things right really resonates with the way I like to do things as well. So I'm excited for it. Honestly, I think as long as the people come, the events will get bigger and bigger for sure. But yeah, so talking about like putting on tournaments and what the player experience. What do you think is your main sort of the most important factor when hosting a tournament? Like for you as a TO company owner.
Yeah. So really, like it's going to sound a bit blasé, but player experience. So, and what does player experience mean to people? For me, it comes down to like a few different things. One is the integrity of the competition. Like you have to be able to come away from a tournament knowing that your result mattered. You may have gone 0-6 or whatever it was, but you want to feel like those losses were fair.
Not me, never me. No.
But you may have lost. You may have lost in the final or on Top Cut or something like that. And you never want to come away from that feeling like it was because of something extraneous to your play or whatever.
Absolutely not. I think that's actually from my past experience, that's the worst outcome, is to feel cheated by the judges' rulings or how the event was
time
run.
rulings or whatever have you. Like, oh, my opponent was slow playing, but I couldn't do anything about it. Or,
I mean, more just the way it's been run. Like opponents, it comes and goes, obviously. But if say the judge team haven't been doing things correctly,
they don't know the rulings.
If there's like inconsistency in rulings, especially, I feel like they say one thing to you at the start of the event and then something else at the end.
There's a lot of sour notes hit in those scenarios. So, but
yeah, so that integrity aspect is like, well, everything you guys just discussed is all part of that from a player experience. You've also got it from like a tournament organizer perspective in terms of like software used to register, make sure everyone gets the same time frames to register and submit decks and all that sort of thing. So that's all like one part of it. Another part of player experience for me is around sort of respecting your customer. So one of our we've got a few of them, but one of our like taglines is on time every time. And it's like, you've got to have respect for people. If they've booked a train home based on the fact that, oh, if I get to the final round, it should finish at this time. You can't have them miss their train because they've made the final because you started late. Completely disrespectful. And particularly when we're going to be, big events people travel to, if you've organized to go out for dinner with your friends, and that's a big part of that traveling player experience, a lot of the value people get out of going to tournaments is hanging out. So that's really like, for me, that's my personal number one. But I think overall as an event manager, it's sort of tied. You got the integrity of the competition, you got respect for your customer, and then the third one, sort of overall, is just like, we like to do things that are awesome, and I'm confident there are enough other people that think the same way about games that they'll come to it. So it's, well, again, if we sort of have this sort of build it and they will come, which is a phrase I hate, but why can't we have something hilarious? I don't know, I can't think of one at the moment, but a guy in a Wookiee outfit giving out the prizes and handing you your massive £500 check.
I mean, I'm not far off looking like a Wookiee, so we're halfway
it's
there.
It's going to be Ollie. No, not Ollie. Sorry, Josh. No outfit.
I can definitely do a good impression, I'm sure. So I mean, yeah. So finally, from me, what attracted you into? I mean, you've touched on it a bit, the growth and everything else. But what made you think, yeah, I'm going to start try my hand at setting up some card tournaments? What triggered that decision?
Ultimately, it was very similar to how we set up at the very beginning, which was I really relapsed into my Magic habit.
It happens to the best of us.
And as I was relapsing, I was chatting to my local scene about like what the event structure is like, and one thing that kept coming up was how the Magic scene has had this massive change in its event structure. The GP's going away. In the UK, all you really have now is 2 command fests, which are quite, let's just say, situationally good. And there's not really anything else. So I started exploring. I was like, well, if I wanted to run a Magic event, what would it look like? And then through that exploration, bear in mind, in my community, we're playing all the games all the time. So we were then looking at playing Star Wars, and it was one of these things of, okay, well, if I want to run a bigger Magic event, what do people with Magic value? And it turns out it's actually a lot of stuff that we can't run as an independent. They want the WPN type stuff, the special promo code cards and that sort of stuff. So you're kind of handcuffed because you can't do things without Magic's, wizard stamp of approval. We were already doing some events with Bandai. So anyone that's familiar with the Dragon Ball event we're running in August. Or we've got another exciting thing that's coming up soon that we're going to be announcing as well. So we were running card games through that as well. And then we're looking at Star Wars, and we're like, well, this is a brand new game. So people are super passionate about it. And there is no current structure to the event scene. And we have a background in doing that stuff. Like, we not to toot our own horn, but like, we structured the UK tournament scene for Warhammer in such a way that we are the owner of the rankings. So the rankings for Warhammer in the UK are not owned by Games Workshop; they're owned by us. And we understand like how people want to elevate from like playing with their mates, playing at their local store championships, playing at a regional event, going to nationals, like how people get value from that sort of stuff. And I thought when I was looking at the Star Wars stuff, I was like, well, this is something that no one's doing. We can really add value here, and hopefully be able to do it at a sustainable rate. Because it doesn't matter how passionate you are about a game, if you're doing a full-time job doing something else, it's very rare that you can have the passion to sustain the energy required to be running a 500-person event every month or every 2 weeks. So we're in a situation, fortunately, where me and my team were full-time on this already. We've been full-time since COVID, so we have the capacity to basically expand if people want us to. And Star Wars is very much a sort of testing ground. So we've got this hopefully big event in Leicester. We've got another awesome one that we're planning, which will be announced soon as well, which hopefully will be even bigger. And then we'll have to see where we are from there.
Very, very cool. So Ollie, you've got a few questions actually about the game. Now we've talked a lot about the business and the tournaments, but let's grill Zach a bit about his game knowledge and.
Yeah, we're gonna start asking ruling questions already.
He'll just direct you to me, probably.
Judge.
Nah, hopefully my questions are a bit more lighthearted. My first one is just kind of, what's your general experience of the game so far? You've been playing it much? Have you kept up with any events? Have you gone to any events?
So I was actually out of the country for Twickenham, and then I was actually running events at UK Games Expo for Atomic Mass Games. So I was immediately next to all you guys having fun playing Star Wars. I've been playing the Luke starter deck and then been upgrading it slowly while I was trying to sort of feel my way around the mechanics. When it comes to gaming, I'm a mechanic focused person. If I like the mechanics, I'll like the game. And what I've really liked is the bits of magic that I love. The instant reactions and stuff, you don't really need so much in Star Wars because of the I go you go mechanic, and so it's kind of taking the things I like most about magic mechanics and putting them into a game and then focusing on that. So I've been really enjoying that. There are bits about the game that I'm less of a fan of. I'm not a huge fan of the art or card layout, but they're the things that are of less value to me.
It's pretty hit or miss, to be fair. Like some of it's pretty great, and then some of it could
for every Vader you have about 6 Migs Mayfelds, right?
Here's looking at the Han Solo set 1 leader non-showcase. Yeah,
but it's just like Star Wars for me isn't a cartoon, so when I look at cartoon Star Wars, it just doesn't resonate with me. Now I appreciate there's loads of people that
it's a huge thing, to be fair, but I'm the same. I grew up on the original trilogy, so.
But yeah, I've been really liking it. I remember reading a blog post. I think it was a review of the Twickenham event, and somebody said I had so much fun smashing people in the face with R2D2 holding a lightsaber. And that completely just got me. So I've been playing that deck recently. I have, it's funny you guys were joking about this event that was cancelled and then relaunched at Darksphere this weekend, but I have a deck prepared for it.
Yes.
And because of all this confusion, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to make it anymore. But I've recently switched up to Sabine.
Good choice, a strong choice in this.
Very strong, yeah.
Absolutely.
And I have to say, I'm definitely very similar to you when it comes to choosing mechanics in card games over like the theme of it. So. Yeah. I'm not really a massive Star Wars nerd, and I have a lot of people who sit across from me going, I'm playing Vader because I love Vader in the films. I'm like, I haven't really watched them, sorry.
Ollie is definitely a player's player for sure, but I mean, we can all agree that the mechanics in this game, they're not like exactly unique, but it's quite a unique take on card games.
They're pretty unique for paper, I think. I know there's a lot, like if you played like Legends of Runeterra, right? Like, okay, fine, like you've gotten a lot of what's fun about this, or like if you played Dragon Ball or any of these leader games, you get some of that. But I think it just comes together in such a tight package. Which, yes, okay, maybe the card stock isn't fantastic and the foils don't look amazing and whatever have you, but the gameplay is so tight that I don't even care.
Yeah, everyone I've spoken to about the game who's played it has said how much they love the like back and forth mechanic of it. which I have to agree, it's amazing.
So let's go off script a bit now. We're done with the script. I'm gonna just ask you, Chris, what's your sort of view on the money tournament side of things? Because some people get a bit scared of these kind of things, with like hyper competitive. But what are your thoughts? Do you think it's obviously you've got Zach here, so you can't talk bad about it too much. But do you think it's going to be a super positive? Do you think it's going to be well received?
So my thing with money tournaments is if they are the only tournaments that a game has, or if they are like the big draw to a game, I think they're a terrible idea.
About spirits.
Yeah, I won't spend too long, talking about the downfalls of how Bandai ruined what was a very, very good game. Through basically
still is.
Yeah, it's a great game, but I think the danger you have when the only reason, in air quotes, right, like that people play your game is, I can win cash. You're attracting the kind of crowd who are going to go to whatever the next big thing is, right? They're not necessarily going to be enjoying the game for the game, and they're going to be very, very obviously driven by like that one thing.
Yeah, not necessarily sustainable.
Exactly. Now, what I really like about this is that we already have FFG having like this OP scene. So you have that and this is happening. I mean, the game came out 6 months ago now or so?
Yeah,
the game's had time to organically grow. We have people interested in it. And now we have a major player coming in and going, okay, you guys want tournaments? We've got some tournaments. And you can win cash at them. And that's, I think, great. Because it serves that group of players who, I would actually love to win money at this thing that I really enjoy playing. But it doesn't dominate the conversation. It doesn't be this whole thing of like, the only reason anyone's playing this game is for money. So it's I think very well timed from Zach's perspective. Whether that was intentional or not, I will give the credit. And it's serving a community or a niche that I think has been very, very underrepresented in the UK. Hard to find cash tournaments for pretty much anything.
Yeah,
like
true.
Card game-wise.
Absolutely. So, Ollie, I mean, what are your thoughts on it? Do you think, how regularly would you want to see these events? And, like, realistically, how regularly do you think it could be sustainable for them to happen?
I mean, I'd love to see them as frequently as possible, to be honest. When it comes to other games that I've played, like Dragon Ball, there were monthly events that I was going to. Some of those online, some of them in person, like a little bit of a combination of the two, which does make it a little bit obviously more flexible. But I think monthly events would be great. I think there'd be a lot of people who'd go every month because if you run them on weekends, you don't necessarily have to take holiday, or you can only take like maybe a Friday or a Monday off. But like 1 day off per month is pretty chill, I think.
Yeah, I mean, go on.
I was going to say, it's worth flagging as well. I think because Star Wars is doing this whole planetary qualifier and working up system, and we know that there's going to be like probably one every week or two. It's really nice that this can slot right in the weeks where there isn't a planetary qualifier. We go like, you can do this, or you can prepare for your planetary qualifier, or you can use your planetary qualifier to prepare for this, or so it can fit into that schedule, which means that there's kind of always something happening, and there's always going to be something for players to go to.
Yeah, I mean,
because the grand I can't remember what the world's thing is called actually. Galactic, that's the one, the Galactic Championships. Because that's open qualifier this year, and you only have to, if you win the planetary one, you qualify for day 2, but some people might not be focused on that, or if you've already won one, you don't really necessarily have to go to any others. This is like the perfect time to jump in and establish yourself, I think, as a big name in organizing events for Star Wars, because people who've either not really worried about the galactic stuff or have already qualified for day 2 will probably focus on these cash tournaments more so than any sort of like planetary stuff past that.
Yeah, 100%. It definitely, I feel like it definitely attracts like the sweaty players that want to, try, test their skills. And I think that will be a good selling point as well, to bring in players that really want to play at the highest level. The other thing that's great with competitive events happening regularly, I think it gives people a lot more reason to practice and to be encouraged to play. Don't you think? Like the more tournaments there are, the more you want to test, and I mean that's how I've found in the past. Like the more we're catered for in a game, the more addicted I get, I guess is the best way to put it. I can't stop thinking about getting the play lines correct and everything else. So that's one thing that for me is very encouraging to have these tournaments come in. But obviously cash money is lovely as well.
One other thing, and this is a off the script pitch for you, Zach. One really cool thing about Star Wars is that you have to use accessories. You have to use tokens. And that's a really cool place for something like UKTC that has, we've got our rankings, right? We've got our end of set or end of year rankings, and first place. I don't know. I'm not saying you're doing this, by the way. There's no insult. First place gets a really cool initiative token that says I was ranked #1 in the UK. Stuff like that, which is such a slam dunk, which FFG might not necessarily be able to do, but it's really cool that then you have like this secondary like avenue where you can get really cool stuff like that. Whilst also being able to take part in all these like really well-run tournaments.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think that's a great idea as well to kind of.
I think I made it into the notebook. I think I've done it. I've made it onto the
yes, let's go to-do list. No, but I mean, yeah, like having a standings and like a yearly thing to show that will encourage more repeat custom as well. More people wanting to come in and be like, I need to stay in that top 16 to get that invitational invite. That kind of thing. So no, yeah, I mean, it's all very exciting, Zach. And I mean, I just want to thank you for, even considering the idea with Star Wars. I think it's going to be a great success. And the more, the more you put into it as a company, and for the judge staff, I think the more successful it's going to be. So yeah, all power to you.
Well, thank you very much. And just a couple of points that you to touch on what you both have raised there, which is, I think, while the cash will always incentivize the sweaty players, one thing that we've learned very much from our success in other game systems is that if you look at, it's a very basic statistical analysis, but if you look at where everyone comes, only one person can win, only one person probably loses every single game. The vast majority of people that are in your core customer base are going to lose 1 or 2 or possibly 3 games. And you have to have a reason to keep those types of people keep coming in order to have a long-term healthy scene.
Absolutely, yeah.
While the cash should attract the people that have intent to win and expectation that they may win, what can we do to make sure that the people who have no intent to win but are just coming because they love the game? And we do have quite a few things in the works for this, and some of them are really cool. Because of the timing around Leicester, we've not been able to do them all because a lot of them have about 2-month lead-ins. But once we've evaluated the numbers on Leicester and we're moving forwards for our sort of medium-term planning, we'll be able to roll some of those out. And I hope I can preview them soon because they're really, really cool. It's stuff similar to your initiative token thing, but not for winners. We're at the point where we can basically scale a quite robust incentive structure to encourage people to buy tickets early. It's really important for like having a healthy event scene that people don't buy tickets late, because it means that the event manager can't plan because they have no idea how many people are coming. So all of the cool stuff they can do if an event sells out on day 1, like it will for One Piece, can be planned 6 months in advance. If an event is doubling its tickets 2 weeks before, that means you can't do anything with all that extra revenue because you don't know if it's definitely there or not. And because we're quite committed to trying to help build the Star Wars scene, and because we already have a successful revenue stream in our other game systems backing us up, we're able to commit some budget to this as a loss leader in order to basically say, like, what are the really cool things we can do to show what we're about if these events are a success. So we'll be doing some of those at an event coming soon, which we'll be announcing in due course.
Stay tuned. That sounds really exciting. And it's definitely like rewarding participation is 100% a strong thing to keep the community factor going. And yeah, I mean, I think just attracting like the best players is always a good thing. Everyone wants to test their skills. Like you say, going from playing with your friends to the top level of gaming, just creating a sort of atmosphere and a place to do that is a really positive thing, I think. And yeah, I'm just very excited about everything. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all we've got for today. I'm trying to think of, Chris, do you have a question time on the round? Zach, what we do at the end of each pod, we have one person randomly think of a question to ask everyone else just to close out. It doesn't have to even be related to what we've been talking about. But yeah, Chris.
Yeah, all right, I've got one. What is your favorite drink to have on a hot summer's day?
Oh, that's a good one.
I'll get us started. It is a lovely ice cold milk tea.
Milk tea.
Delicious.
Controversial take.
Delicious.
That sounds grim.
No, sorry, not a tea with load of milk in it. Like the specific thing, a milk tea.
Oh.
Like the Asian thing, not like a really milky
Okay.
tea.
I
No,
mean,
that sounds absolutely vile.
my classic is a cloudy lemonade with Tropicana and ice. A pint of that is
Wrong.
very, very nice. It's just something my mother loves, and I've always drunk it because of her. I don't know why. What about you, Ollie? What's your favourite drink?
I was actually going to go with a similar sort of one to you, because I'm a big fan of the lemonade with orange juice.
Yeah.
But a second choice, honestly, it would be some rum with some ginger ale and a little bit of lime in.
Very nice, very nice.
Very good. Very good.
That actually sounds superb
and some ice,
right now.
obviously.
What about you, Zach? What's your summer drink of choice?
Summer drink of choice, I think it would have to be Coca-Cola Zero.
Ooh, I'm very into Coca-Cola Zero at the moment, to be fair. It's solid.
Yeah. Or if I was being a little cheeky, maybe a nice ice cold stout.
Ooh.
Oh, very nice. Very nice.
There we go. All right.
Like that.
So yeah, thank you very much for coming on, Zach. I'm sure we'll get you on again at some point later on in the future to talk about more things tournament. But yeah, thanks again for creating this new tournament circuit for everyone. I'm sure it's going to catch on very quickly. And other things we haven't touched on. There'll be a full stream and stuff, right, Zach? You've got all the streaming equipment, and we have a YouTube guest that's going to be helping us out, which will be announced at some point soon, I'm sure.
Yes, indeed. So we will be streaming for anyone who can't make it. For anyone who does want to make it, you can get tickets still by going to UKTC.gg, and then there'll be a little bit of bio about the event there, and as well as a link to buy tickets. So please come if you can. But if you can't, then there will be a stream as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I think streaming is really important as well to raise awareness of these tournaments happening. And yeah, it will definitely, it's all going to help matters. But yeah, so thanks again, Zach, and thanks Chris and Ollie. It's been a cool episode, and really exciting stuff to talk about. And I'm really excited to get these tournaments going, starting this month on the 25th of August in Leicester, guys. Info will be in the description. So yeah, catch you later, guys. Hope you enjoyed the show, and see you next time.